What's up, everyone? I'm Robert O'Haver. Welcome to my Hangouts. With me today is a 15-year veteran of search engine marketing and search engine optimization. He's a co-author of a book, The Art of SEO. Almost said war. Host of Whiteboard Friday, and he gives amazing tips and advice on search engine optimization and search engine marketing. He's also the co-founder of and former CEO of MOZ. And I'd like to welcome to the Hangouts, Rand Fishkin.
Hey, Robert. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Rand. How are you doing today?
Doing all right.
Good, good.
Woke up nice and late, slept a little bit. Haven't gotten through all of my email yet this morning, but on my way there.
Nice. Before we get to the Q&A session, I want to go through kind of the format for everyone. So if you have questions for Rand, go ahead and start putting them up there. We'll take them in the order they come unless one question gets more pluses than the other. So it ranks of importance. So that's how the format will go. But Rand, before we start getting questions in, what I'd like to do is ask you your outlook on 2015. What are your predictions, and what do you think coming down the line for SEO?
Yeah, well, good timing. I published a blog post last night. Sort of listing my Big 10 predictions for 2015, and I kind of have done this every year for almost a decade now, where I grade my predictions from the previous year and then make some new ones. And yeah, last year I was surprisingly accurate with a number of things, and so made some more predictions this year. I think, but beyond predictions, I think one of the things that we're going to see is a focus on a few trends. So, I've been thinking about kind of some of the big trends in SEO and how marketers are reacting. I think one of the things we're going to see this year is a lot of discussion, probably a lot of anecdotes, and hopefully some really good testing on the value and importance that still remain in links. And from my testing and my understanding and what I've been seeing, links still look pretty darn important, but I'm hearing, the rumblings and grumblings of kind of SEOs who are thinking, hey, links aren't what they used to be, they're losing power and importance, and these other signals are on the rise, especially engagement kinds of things and click behavior types of things. Mm-hmm. So I think there's going to be that debate and discussion all year long. I think we're also going to be seeing a really big trend around dark traffic. I think dark traffic is going to be one of the biggest trends and most problematic trends for 2015, and probably for many of the years ahead, as just a ton of traffic that should be classified as search, that's coming from mobile, coming from secure search, coming from particular kinds of devices, especially Apple's devices, is unfortunately listed under direct because it doesn't come with a refer string. I think we're going to see a continued problem with that with social as well. Facebook sends a lot of traffic that is dark traffic, both from their app and from their mobile and tablet app, and also from their website. It appears at certain times or in certain kinds of ways. So I think those are going to be really big trends for 2015.
Yeah. Well, I mean, tell me if you think I'm wrong, but I think Panda's going to take a bigger part in 2015 as far as content quality, the structure of the site, and user experience, obviously. That's something that we've been barking about for a while, but I think it's going to take a more front seat, too.
That's interesting. I wonder, I would not be surprised if Panda got a little harsher in 2015 and a little pickier, and I think that's, that would be not unexpected, mostly just because Google has had such a focus on user experience. I do wonder about other kinds of UX things, not just Panda, making their way into the algorithm in stronger ways or more visible ways. Maybe there are things that are already in there and we're going to start observing and seeing and testing and making them more transparent across the industry. So certainly I think a lot of SEOs have already shown and proven the importance of click-through rate, right? If you're ranking number 7, but you're getting more clicks than number 4, 5, and 6, you're going to move up that ranking position pretty darn quickly. Gaming that is very hard because Google seems to have a good, solid system for verifying, this is a real user who's logged in, who, we've seen have normal kinds of behavior before versus this is a bubbly click pattern that we've never seen before. We're going to discount it. I think we're probably going to see other UX things like the labeling that Google's done, the mobile friendly.
Yeah.
On those, I think for mobile searchers, that's going to become, as mobile searchers get familiar with that format, that's going to have more and more of a presence and an impact on who gets traffic from mobile search. And that could affect desktop search quite a bit as well, because those behaviors will translate to positive user engagement signals, possibly positive sharing signals and links, branding, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think Panda maybe, and user experience absolutely, probably across a wide range of things.
Okay. And for advice, what advice would you give a new SEO or someone that's been in it for a while, but as far as where their focuses should be?
I think our jobs at this point are really to identify our strengths and weaknesses, and then to concentrate on the intersection between, hey, I'm good at this, and this can move the needle.
Sure.
So, I agree with a lot of people out there who say SEO seems so frustrating nowadays because it's so big. It's so much more than just, keywords, content, links, and rankings. And hey, no argument, right? It's massively complex. You could spend all your time just working on speed or on user experience or design. You could spend all your time working on links or citations, on press and PR, on outreach, on content marketing, on keyword research and keyword targeting. I get it. I think being able to evaluate a website, right, having the skill set to evaluate a website both technically and from a content user experience perspective, and saying, hey, this is sort of what's missing, and this is what we're really good at, and so let's combine those things, and I'm going to shoot for the low-hanging fruit and for the areas that I'm really great at that can make a difference.
Sure.
I think that ability is going to be critical to SEO auditing as well as SEO work going forward.
Absolutely. And I mean, I would say, as from yesterday's of SEO to now, I think an SEO needs to broaden their skill set as far as conversion optimization. Because if you drive traffic all day to a site, but if it's not,
not
getting conversion, yeah. But from navigation to structure of the site, I think all those things are super important. A lot of people are, the SEOs I've seen are kind of like focused. Okay, rank, and that's that's been the extent of it. So. Yeah,
and it's a weird thing. I think one of the other problems of data going away, right, keyword not provided in particular, has made rank tracking, rank monitoring, and using rank as a proxy for performance that much more essential, right? We just don't have another metric to tell us how we're potentially doing, and so, with both not provided and with a lot of search traffic coming through without a refer string, rankings are how you say, hey, look, we've had a positive impact on our ability to drive traffic, and here are the keywords on which we've improved, and here's the correlated pages that are ranking and how their search traffic has improved or how their direct traffic has improved too. That's how we have to go about proving our value these days. That's also insanely frustrating. I think Google really took away a huge an important part of how SEOs can show their work. And in comparison to any form of paid marketing, right, whether that's content advertising networks, whether that's social advertising, whether it's old school banners, or display, or retargeting, or search ads, PPC, every single form of advertising, you will know to the visitor, everything that person did, every piece of performance. So when I hear the privacy complaints, I'm like, man, don't even bring up privacy. That is not what this is about. This is clearly about dollars.
Yeah, it's really frustrating when 95% of your traffic is not provided.
Yeah, and yet, for if you pay $1 a click, oh man, suddenly all that data is just super provided.
Right.
And you can track those people, across devices, and you can track them, through every step of your website, and all these kinds of things. So I find it very frustrating that while paid marketing is expensive, it's obviously driven by money and investment, earned traffic, right? That stuff that's driven by the quality of our creativity, the quality of our design and UX, the quality of the engagement we can provide, the quality of the references and citations and links that we all earn, those things, right, that in my opinion really make the web great. Those aren't as easy to count or recognize, and that traffic isn't as easy to prove back to your manager, your boss, your team. It's a tough world out there. Thankfully, I think the one thing we can count on is 90+% of the web's traffic will always be organic. Yeah. Right? For every one ad that we might click on, I mean, not even 10. I think probably closer to 100. Links that come from an email we wanted to get from our friend, or a newsletter we subscribe to, or someone we follow on Twitter, or a Facebook account that we're a friend with that we follow, or a search result that we find that we really wanted. Like, that stuff is going to always drive 10 to 100x the traffic of paid, and paid is just more measurable. So,
unfortunately,
yeah, it's a tough thing. I'm not thrilled with these networks. I also don't understand. I think both Google and Facebook are shooting themselves in the foot a little bit, because I think that if they did show, if Google provided keyword data, if they were more rigorous about passing referral strings, they would actually see an increase in advertising spend as well, right? That, because I see that all this traffic that's coming for this keyword is worth this much money, and I'm ranking number 7 or 8. Hey, you know what? I'm going to bid on that keyword because I know it's worth it to do so. Same story with Facebook, right? If I see how much traffic Facebook is sending me exactly, and I see where it's going and what it's doing and how it can perform, I'm much more likely to buy Facebook ads.
Sure.
So I think both of them are losing out by not passing that referral data, and I don't know. I kind of have this hope that it hits their bottom lines hard enough to where they make it change.
Yeah, definitely. It would make reporting a lot easier, too.
Absolutely. And that's how the web's supposed to be, right? Like the agreement, this is the thing that kills me. If Google of 2001 or 2002 were to say, hey, we're not going to pass keyword data anymore, you know what? Webmasters would just block them in robots.txt. We'd be like, well, screw you. This is not the deal. The deal is you send us information about what people are searching for, and we let you crawl our site. But now that Google's the monopoly, well, we're all screwed, right? We don't have a choice. It's the prisoner's dilemma. Yeah. So I think that's very frustrating when an organization gets that big and powerful, and then they say, hey, we're going to go back on the deal that we always had.
Wow. It's a frustration.
Yeah.
But the other thing I wanted to mention, one thing we talked about in our last hangout was social signals.
Yeah.
Do you feel that will improve over time, or at least this next year coming?
You know what? I still think we don't really understand how exactly Google is using social data. I think that it might be purely indirect. I'll give you an example, right? I send out a link on Twitter that someone just published, right, to a post. It gets a ton of attention on Twitter. Then it also gets, some people sharing it on Facebook and on Google Plus and other places. As a result, many, many people with their Android devices, their Chrome browsers, their plugins that Google's tracking, all this type of stuff, are going to that website and engaging with its content. And Google sees, hey, engagement on this is very high, and even though it doesn't have any links yet, or many links yet, I think we should rank it more highly because of that engagement that's happening. And
Sure.
as a result, we see this crazy high correlation between things that get socially shared, especially things that get a lot of social shares, and things that perform very well in rankings. That could just be a correlation that is there because of the engagement that Google's tracking, not the social signals. That said, I think it's a little weird to imagine, with how powerful and important social signals can be for relevancy and quality in search, part of me feels like there must be something we're missing that they are measuring more directly about social, but I don't know what that is. I haven't been able to prove it. All the tests where you're like, okay, let's put this URL up and send a bunch of tweets to it, or get a bunch of Facebook shares, or a bunch of Google Plus. They don't seem to move the needle, and so right. I don't know. Maybe there's some qualification that happens there. Like, they do see the social signals. They know, the counts and numbers and who's shared and all that. But then they also check engagement. And if they don't see engagement, which of course you would never see on a test URL because no one engages with a page that's like, this is a test, then maybe that's how they close that loop. I'm not sure, but I would be fascinated to see if we can make more progress in understanding that in 2015.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, a specific person's social media, the topic should always stay relevant. I would say that would have some weight of, text around the links, that type of stuff.
Yeah, right. Well, and that it's interesting. I just saw what should we call it? It wasn't text around link. Oh, it was the citation test, right, where you have an unlinked URL, and I think it was Dan Petrovic from Australia who did this great test where they did 42 different domains, having these URLs next to the keywords, and they didn't see anything, any movement, anything noticeable so far. So
the co-citation was what I was looking for.
Sorry?
The co-citation is what I was looking for.
Yeah, but I do think there's something to that, right? I think if you go the other way and you say, here's a link, or here's a website, or here's a brand name, and here's some text next to it that's relevant, that's about what the searcher is looking for, I'd be really surprised if that has no impact whatsoever. I think at least in some form or another that's going on. And certainly you see a lot of that in social. I do think, one of my predictions from this morning's blog post was that Google's indexation of Twitter is going to go up dramatically. And that could have that citation, brand mention, to your point, co-citation type of impact if we see some of that social stuff going on.
And then, anybody have any questions? If you would, type them up on the right-hand side. We haven't got any questions yet, which is...
Oh, okay. Cool, yeah, I can click my Q&A button here.
I'm not getting any questions.
Oh, all right. Well, maybe we're just answering the questions before they can even come in. That's
Yeah, definitely. And then, one thing I have to give you guys kudos to is I use MOZ Analytics, and there's a lot of deep diving you can do in that, and it's been extremely helpful.
Oh, I'm thrilled to hear it. Yeah, we have a bunch of. I'm always embarrassed by our products. I want them to get better. I never think that we've done enough and that kind of thing. And there's a few features like this year that I'm really looking forward to. But that's been, it's been a challenging product to develop and work on. I think mostly just because of the scale. It's really hard to make a living, breathing product that have 30,000 people accessing it all the time, and so the engineers have been sort of like, well, we can't break anything, so how we develop these new features, you gotta build them at scale and build them not to break, that kind of thing. But
are you using a cloud service to expand that stuff, or?
Sorry, say again?
Are you using cloud services to,
We were using Amazon's cloud services for a long time. We actually built our own private data center and have moved over there.
Nice.
We found that we had much better control of the hardware, so the types of machines and the failure rate. While Amazon has a lot of dirt cheap machines, the disks were giving out like crazy, which is fine if all you're doing is kind of storage because there's backup and you
Right.
just retrieve it. But we were doing a ton of processing, and when you're doing processing and a disk fails, you have to start the processing over, which means you have to build in checkpoints, which means that those checkpoints are slowing down the processing. And so we found that by moving to a private data center, buying our own hardware that's new, that's reliable, versus Amazon, where most of the cloud, right, is using the machines that Amazon's tossing after they're using them themselves.
Yeah.
And so the failure rates are quite high. I think cloud can be great for certain kinds of things. Obviously, storage is one, but not so great for processing and for a lot of the work that we do with MOZ.
Yeah. Yeah. And I also use MOZ Local too. It's pretty helpful tool.
Yeah, I think MOZ Local's made a ton of progress last year. I think and they've got a really great, very dedicated team. They're kind of separate in a lot of ways from the rest of the company. They almost operate like their own little fiefdom, and Dudley and David over there, I think, have been kicking butt. So it's cool to see.
Yeah. I guess one more last question, unless someone has some questions, type them up on the screen. But seeing with the changes that Google's come through in 2014, is there anything that you don't like and maybe you would like to see? Obviously, we talked about one thing already, but
yeah. Well, yeah. There's a few things. I think one is I worry a little bit about what they've done with spam, right? In particular, what they've done with forcing people to be so afraid of links that point to them, and so obsessed with disavowing and needing to monitor their backlinks like hawks to make sure that nothing untoward is coming their way. That feels like an obligation that it's busy work. It's not productive work. It doesn't make your company better. It doesn't make your brand better. It doesn't help any user anywhere. Right? No one is helped by me going through all my backlinks and finding the spammy ones and disavowing them and sending that request to Google and through Webmaster Tools. And that's a ton of work. And not only that, it's actually taking up a ton of otherwise productive SEO time. So I think Google is kind of making the web a worse place with that, right? And if instead they could get to a model where they say, hey, you know what? We're going to recognize most of the spam that links to you already. We're going to mark it as such. If we mark it as such in your Webmaster Tools, that means you don't have to worry about it. So you go in there and you see, oh, I have a bunch of spammy links. Oh, but Google already knows that they're not my fault and I didn't build them and they're not counted. Great, fine. Okay, I don't have to worry about them. And then maybe there's some people who do have to worry about some things sometimes, but I wish that they would change the way that they do that. I think that really harms everybody.
Yeah, I was talking to an SEO that he says he does it once a week. I'm like, what?
Oh, my God. And I think there's people who, because Google hasn't said, they haven't been upfront about how worried you should be or what could, impact you or not. Because they haven't been loud and vocal about what you really need to worry about and what you don't,
right.
I think people are just scared, right?
Yeah.
And they have every right to be. I mean, I've seen websites get shut down for months, even years out of the rankings because of spam that they don't think that they built, but they're not sure, and oh, well, maybe it was this SEO company, but I can't be sure. That kind of stuff is insanely frustrating.
Yeah.
And unless you're a professional SEO who's been doing this a while, you don't understand this stuff, right? You don't know why Google's giving you this hard time. That really bothers me. So spam is definitely one. I think another. Well, I don't think they're going to do anything other than continue to do this more and more. But the hijacking of traffic through instant answers, right, where they basically say, hey, rather than forcing someone to, a user performs a search, and rather than having them click on your website, we're actually just going to take the content right out of your website,
Throw it up there.
throw it up there above the fold so that you don't get the traffic, you don't know that that person ever performed the search, you don't even know whether they consumed your content or not, and by the way, now that's Google's content, and also you can't sue us because
for Google.
Google, and it's not monopolistic because we are now the United States' second largest lobbyist. So we've bought off all the politicians. There's nothing you can do about it, right? So that's a little frustrating. But I don't honestly see that going anywhere because I think it's in Google's best interest, and it's in a lot of users' interest as well. At least in the short term, it's in their interest. And so I think for publishers, we just have to go, hey, what can we provide that Google can't directly steal and put in the SERPs? And that's a rough battle to have to fight.
Maybe they'll come up with another meta tag for blocking the info.
Yeah, that would actually be kind of nice. You can take from Wikipedia, and then the rest of us can say, hey man, if you want my content, come to my website.
Right. Or predominantly put the source of the content. I don't know if that would help it.
Yeah. Well, and they will list the source, but I'm trying to remember. I think a lot of those are. I think they have. Yeah, they will list the source, and it looks like sometimes they make it clickable. How much money did Google make?
That's why their name's Google. 100 zeros.
Yeah, all the money.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not seeing a whole lot of them. The one I'm seeing with Wikipedia, which is Google Revenue, they are showing the link more prominently now. So maybe they've taken my advice in the last 5 minutes. That would be nice.
Nice. You heard it here first.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm not seeing a few of the ones that I used to see. So we'll have to keep a monitor on those. I think Dr. Pete has his MOZcast project, and one of the things that he is trying to get in there is how many instant answers, how frequently are they, how many pixels do they take up vertically above the fold there, and so I think tracking those kinds of things is really good. That's actually one thing I want to give Google some credit for this, which is there's a lot of projects out there like MOZcast. I think Serpmetrics has one. Algoroo in Australia is another one, where they sort of monitor all the search results and give some data about what's going on in Google search. And I'm actually really, my morale is boosted by the fact that Google has not tried to shut those down, right? They basically said like, hey, okay, this is a reasonable, legitimate kind of way to make our data a little more transparent to webmasters, site owners, marketers, industry pundits, that kind of thing. So I like that they haven't been aggressive about trying to shut those projects down. I think that's to their credit that they've allowed for some data gathering in order to make them more transparent. I wish they'd do it themselves, but at least they're not shutting down the third parties doing it.
Yeah, well, I mean, imagine being like in the travel industry where Google just takes up the search. Could you imagine?
Oh, man, I mean, they're eating that traffic live, or sports scores too, right? Yeah. I mean, I think if I were ESPN or the NFL or any of those, their traffic loss is just immense. I think if I search for playoff schedule, Um, Google's got. Oh, I need to specify. So if I search for NFL playoff schedule, right? Google has all of it right there. ESPN, who's ranking #1 above the news box, they're getting nothing, right? NFL, they're getting nothing.
Yeah.
That sucks. I feel for those guys, right? Because that data is coming from them.
Mm-hmm.
This is the NFL's proprietary data. They don't even get the traffic themselves. Oh, it'd kill me.
Right. Well, yeah, that's some crazy stuff. But I guess that's we don't have any questions, which is strange. We had a ton of questions last time. What else do you that maybe I wasn't too happy about? The rich snippet thing where the pictures went away, but
yeah. I mean, the Google Plus authorship thing was an interesting one. I think Cyrus Shepard, who runs the content team at MOZ, actually did a very impressive job kind of auditing our traffic before and after that change and showing that even though we thought we were benefiting tremendously from Google Plus authorship, losing it, since everybody lost it, didn't appear to have much of an impact. So I think that was one of those, felt very frustrating, not sure whether it really hurt all that much to lose it. I did like it, though. I mean, I thought that.
Yeah.
I thought just as a user, I loved seeing the pictures next to, next to the content. I thought that was very helpful, and knowing who the author was. So I'm a little frustrated to lose that. I do think what Google's done in local recently has been, kind of tough, where they're whatchamacallit, kind of the I called it the screw Yelp box, right? That they've got now, where they're essentially showing you, here's restaurants, rating, cuisine, price, hours, pictures, etc. It's like you're using the Yelp app in.
That's where they're getting the data.
Yeah. And so Yelp has this lawsuit against them, or some form of legal action they're trying to take, and obviously the EU has actually mandated that they change up some of how they show local listings. But I do think it's stretching their monopoly power a little bit, right? Because if I do a search for restaurant Seattle, I can't really see anything other than Google listings for these restaurants, right? And so that's essentially saying, your website has become less meaningful. The content you own and control has become less meaningful, and now everything belongs to us, right? And you need to maintain your presence with us, with Google, or you're just not going to be listed.
It's amazing. I was watching a video on YouTube the other day about how much data Google actually knows about you, and oh my God, it was scary.
Yeah, it's it's pretty darn weird.
Largest.
Another frustration. I mean, another thing that bothers me a lot is the video XML sitemaps. They used to show the video sort of snippet next to your result. I think that was great for MOZ for Whiteboard Friday, and great for a lot of video publishers and creators. Now, the only people who get it are YouTube. That doesn't seem right. I mean, that's to me that seems a little ridiculous. That's just biasing to your own brand for no reason other than it's your own brand. I can't really fathom how anyone at Google could make that decision and say it's not evil. It's obviously evil, but such is the way.
Right. And I'd like to get a fun fact for you too. How do you come up with the topics for your Whiteboard Friday? Because you've done hundreds of them.
Yeah. So usually before I start drawing up on the board, I'll spend some time just going through. If I don't already have something that someone's requested, or that that's on our topics list, I'll usually spend some time going through a few sources. One is my Twitter feed, one is Quora's SEO section, and the other one is MOZ's Q&A. And I'll kind of dive through those, try and extract some themes or find a question in there that's really salient and meaty, and put it up. A lot of the time, though, I don't even have to do that. I would say that happens maybe 25% of the time. 75% of the time, someone's emailed us and said, hey, I'm really interested in this topic, or we've seen something out there, right? I've been at a conference or an event, and great question from the audience, or a great topic brought up by another presenter or something. I'll write it down. I'll email myself and Elijah, who I do the filming with, and then we'll make that our topic for the week. So I think this last week was, let's see, we just filmed one about how you create content that people are going to want to consume and share, rather than creating content and then hoping people will want to consume and share it.
That's a good
some tactics to sort that out, because I'd seen that pop up again and again, and I keep seeing content out there that people email. They email me and they're like, hey, I wrote this blog post, but it's not getting much traffic. Why not? How come no one cares that I published this? I thought this was going to be great. I put all this time and energy into this resource, and it's not doing anything. So I figured, okay, there's a way to make sure that doesn't happen.
Right. No, that's a good topic. Not to jump around, I guess I have one other question. We'll end this up.
Yeah.
I help out in the help desk hangouts.
Oh, cool.
And some of the questions we get are there's a lot of people that are speculating that no follow tags actually get some kind of credit. You see that?
Gosh, when did we do that? We started a test with that last summer with IMEC Labs, and then unfortunately I think the test got a little corrupted. I think there were some people who did not use the no follow, or we weren't entirely sure. So yeah, I would not be surprised if a no followed link is used in some way, and that could be indirect, right? So a good example, we talked about engagement earlier on the Hangout, right? And if a no followed link is driving traffic that is engaged, right, that spends time on the website, that browses around, that does other kinds of sharing after they visited the page, well, gosh, I mean, maybe it's not the link that's having the impact. Maybe it's the people visiting through that link that are having the impact on rankings. But it wouldn't surprise me to learn that there is some positive benefit. We know there's a positive correlation, right? It's always surprising to see when you go, okay, why are no followed links so well correlated, almost as well correlated with rankings as followed links are? It seems not to make sense.
Yeah.
So I think there's probably something in there.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that's the end of the Hangout. We don't have any questions, surprisingly. I hope maybe it's not working. I don't know. But yeah. So thank you for coming. And
my pleasure, Robert. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah. And that'll be the end of the Hangouts. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Bye.
Take care.